Alrighty, good morning. Good morning, JMart. You're with me. It's Thursday, not Tuesday. We still have football today. Trying to figure out everything that's going on, man. How was Christmas? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Christmas was great. Yeah. Nice to see all the family. Nice to see everyone. It's really nice. Yeah.
Good, good, good. So yesterday was an interesting day to say the least. Both NFL games sucked. Being a Ravens fan, the second game was easier to enjoy. But I want to start with just the Texans and kind of work our way back towards relevance because it feels like the Texans are just done. I don't know what to make of them. That was unbelievable yesterday. Watching it from rooting for the Ravens. At some point during the game, I almost started feeling bad for the Texans. Like they're just completely cooked. They seem like a 4-win team, not a 9-win team. Is there any world now where they even win that first playoff matchup, whether it's Broncos, Chargers, or Steelers? Is there something I'm missing? And they just seem absolutely I want to be impressed with the Ravens, but I just came away from the game thinking the Texans are just terrible.
No, yeah. With that offensive line they have right now, CJ Stroud's fighting for his life, like literally every single snap. He doesn't have enough time for Nico Collins to get open deep anymore, which really screws him up. That was like a big part of their game with him and Tank Dell. Just doesn't have the time there. They don't operate well in the mid to low levels of passing, really to like move the sticks at all. Like you'll see they'll do like a 20-yard throw, 15-yard throw, and then they'll just stall out after 35 yards and just go back like 10 more. Mixon, I just feel bad for now again because he can't really run behind anyone with the way the offensive line's been playing. Yeah, they feel like a first round exit for sure, no question.
Absolutely. And then the Steelers feel the same way. I don't know if they end up playing each other. I guess one of them has to win. I don't know how it's all going to shake out, but Pittsburgh has basically gone from a home playoff game against, a banged up Chargers team or a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix to at Buffalo or back to Baltimore because they look terrible. They look like they're done. I'm careful about writing them off because they play much better defense than Houston does, and they do more of the fundamental things the right way. Did they just run into the buzzsaw that's the Chiefs yesterday? What's your read on the Steelers?
I mean, I think the play calling was pretty weak in that game for the Steelers too. I think they tried way too much to establish a run game against like the best run defense in the NFL. I think if they'd maybe tried to throw a little more, it started working later, but again, they weren't that clinical even when they got down the field. It felt like they stalled out pretty quick. And outside of like one really big play to George Pickens, kind of didn't feel like the offense moved at all.
Yeah, Wilson actually did pretty good. I was going to have his over rushing yards. I'm pissed I didn't do that because he was running all over the place. I still, yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh wins that first game unless they end up, in Buffalo. I don't want to play them. I'd rather play the Broncos or the Chargers. Man, they're just not dynamic on offense. They kind of have the same problem that the Texans have. Like you were saying, they'll get one or two big plays down the field, but there's 5-yard, 6-yard plays, and that's really the new. It feels like that's the new NFL. When I look at the most balanced offenses, the most dynamic offenses, they're just ahead of the sticks. Chiefs, Lions, Eagles, Ravens, just constantly. Ravens will make their lives make themselves a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. But Kansas City again yesterday is just ahead of the sticks on every single possession, just like constantly ahead of the sticks. I was really, really impressed with them. I figured Pittsburgh would play better defense. Kansas City's just peaking at the right time, it looks like.
No, I think the offense looks good. Hollywood Brown being back is such a big part to that offense. They have another guy that plays just like Xavier Worthy, one of those really fast guys that just gets open in space. Him, D-Hop, yeah, Worthy. Kelsey's even getting going a little bit now after a stretch of like 3 or 4 rough games. He finally had a big one. Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, they're deep at every position. It's kind of ridiculous, but like it does kind of feel like we're gearing up for a Chiefs 3P right here.
Yeah, well, because now the Chiefs have set themselves up to get the 1 seed. Most likely, if it's chalk, Ravens are going to have to go to Buffalo. Why don't you preview that? Where are you at now with both teams, Buffalo and the Ravens? One of them's going to get a shot at the Chiefs, but not both of them because Kansas City is going to get the 1 seed, and it looks like Baltimore Buffalo is going to be the 2-3. How do you see that playing out? The fact that it's in Buffalo makes me very anxious.
No, the fact is in Buffalo is a problem, definitely for Lamar and stuff. But like, look, Lamar's playing the best football of the season at the right time. I think if you're watching him play, you're watching Josh Allen play. In my opinion, it's pretty clear Lamar's been the better player all season. I checked the stats the other day. He's got more yards. He's got way more passing touchdowns. significantly less interceptions. But that being said, you know how he gets in the playoffs. Buffalo's so cold. It's just going to be an awful and it's such a hard environment to go into and win, especially in a playoff game.
Right.
It's tough for them, but that being said, I think they match up well. I think they'll be able to take away a lot of the stuff that Buffalo does well with like running the football, things like that. They practice against Lamar every day, so they should be pretty good to script against Josh Allen scrambling. I think it'll be a really good game. I think it's tough. I think because it's in Buffalo, I'd lean to the Bills, but it is one of those games that should be good.
Yeah, it's finally like the regular season that has a lot of value as they keep expanding the playoffs in all the sports. You know, the Chiefs getting the 1 seed it could be the most consequential 1 seed in just recent memory, because the fact that they don't have to play the Ravens they only have to play one of them is it's a huge drop off with the 4 through 7. You know, the Chiefs will get a home game against the Chargers, who I just don't see a pathway for the Chargers beating the Chiefs. They just don't score enough points. That would be a shocker to me. Bo Nix on the road, that would be a shock. Or the Texans or the Steelers, who they just dominated in back-to-back weeks. So feels like Kansas City's really in the driver's seat, knowing that Baltimore-Buffalo game would potentially be just an epic game and put the team at a disadvantage going to Kansas City. So that was pretty much what we got out of yesterday. Going into Saturday for the AFC playoffs, talked about a little bit with Jack the other day. The Broncos and the Chargers can both clinch just by winning. How do you see these games playing out? And then we'll go to the NFC. First, Chargers at New England.
Yeah, Chargers need to win it. There's no excuse. There's no reason to lose this game. The Patriots looked good against Buffalo last time out, but still found a way to lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
This is really one of those games where, like, yeah, if you want to be a playoff team, you got to beat New England. Like, there is no excuse. If you deserve to be there, you got to beat the bad teams. New England isn't good. I think Drake May can make things a little interesting, but I do think the Chargers have a good enough defense to contain him enough to at least outscore the Patriots. I mean, yeah.
You would think. And then they do get the Raiders in the last week of the season. Part of me wonders if they have that in their back pocket. It'll be really cold in New England. If Harbaugh wasn't the coach, this would definitely be a game the Chargers would lose, just because they wouldn't be prepared. They would do something stupid. With Harbaugh, you would think they would just hold on to the ball. I bet the under in that game would be a good play. I tend to agree with you. Really hope the Patriots win just to make things more interesting. What about the other game? Because most people just favor the Bengals right now. They're 3.5-point favorites at home against Cincinnati. Home against Denver. So how do you see that playing out?
I love this game. I'm really happy that this ended up happening at this time. Bengals, again, it's one of those situations where with these teams, if you want to be a playoff team, you got to win these games. Bengals are in winner go home territory. They've been there for a couple weeks, it feels like. Mm-hmm. And they look good on offense. They looked good last week against the Browns. They struggled against the Titans a week before, and I do think the Broncos have a good enough pass secondary, or on paper, a good enough secondary. You'd have to see how the injuries go. But again, yeah, Denver needs to win it. They've looked bad recently. You need to kind of trust Bo Nix as a passer a little more. I want to see if he can throw it down the field a little bit, because you go look at last week, it was a bunch of checkdowns. He didn't have the deep ball at all. If he doesn't have the deep ball against the Bengals, it's not going to work. You need to be able to push the ball down the field against them. Because, again, when you're playing the Bengals, it's not win the game, it's outscore them. And, I favor the Bengals. I would love to kind of see the Bengals make the playoffs, sneak in and be another wrinkle for the Chiefs. But
well, first it's a wrinkle for the Bills. Like, the Bills would go from, wait a second, why are the Bengals the 7 seed? Now we have to play them.
They'd go sick. So they go in on the Bills side?
Yeah, because the Chiefs get the bye. Bengals would get the 7.
Yeah.
Buffalo's locked into the 2. So, it's always interesting how the last week or two plays out, because it's like one of the teams that doesn't make the playoffs usually is the team that could probably win at least the playoff game. But I would say that if I'm the Broncos, I really want to win this game, because I don't think you're going to beat the Chiefs that last week of the season. I know Carson Wentz is going to play. It's probably an advantage for the Chiefs. You just kind of alluded to all the weapons they have. They're in such a good mood, and if they don't win that game, if it wasn't a rivalry, if they were just playing, the Colts or some random Jaguars, whatever, maybe the juices wouldn't be flowing. But against the Broncos, it's such a hated rivalry. I don't think Denver's going to win that last game of the year. I think Denver's got a much better chance of winning this game against Cincinnati. And they choked away the game against the Chargers. It was a bad sign. They got lucky to beat the Browns and the Colts a couple weeks before that. Yeah, so the Colts, Dolphins, and the Bengals are still the teams that would be alive, assuming the Bengals win or the Chargers lose. So that's it for the AFC. Pretty much got the top four figured, or they got the top three figured out. Excuse me, got the top four figured out because the Texans are locked into it. So NFC a little bit more complicated. It starts with the Seahawks tonight. Seahawks are in such a weird spot. They cannot get a wild card. So that's annoying. And they don't really, it would behoove them to win tonight, but they really need the Rams to lose to the Cardinals because if they win tonight and the Rams win on Saturday, they're going to still need help if they beat the Rams on Sunday. So the Seahawks the following week, the Seahawks have really screwed themselves. With that being said, they'll probably win this game by 20 points because I won't bet on it. I'll lose my futures with the Seahawks, but they're at the Bears. I know you root for the Bears, watch the Bears. We're going to bet this game tonight. Chicago going to win. Will they be competitive? How do you see it playing out?
If Chicago really shouldn't be trying to win any games at this point in the season's lost. I think you just won a good draft pick, and they've looked horrible the past 3-4 weeks. Might be the worst first half offense I've seen. I mean, you got to go back a minute, maybe back to some of those Jaguars teams that are legitimately 1-16 and stuff. Like this Bears first half offense, they don't know what they're doing. There isn't a game plan. It's run, pass. Basically the first 3 drives of the game, even when it doesn't work on any of the drives, and it hasn't worked in a month probably. I think the Seahawks should win. You're right. It should probably be a 20-point win. That being said, Seahawks lost to the Giants. We watched that happen. That's a really ugly loss. That can't happen. I think this is a game that they can blow. They've been so inconsistent all season. The Bears still have the skill position talent to stay in games. They've come back against the Lions Thanksgiving. I think they can do it, but it should be the Seahawks, but that being said, the Bears always have that outside chance to sneak in. I really don't see it happening with how they've played in first halves, but again, you always got to think about that with them.
Yeah, I don't know. Seattle's probably in a better mood to get away from being at home. They just losing to the Packers and the Vikings. They probably just don't deserve to make it. With that being said, the third game on Saturday night's the Rams. Rams beat the Cardinals, and they have almost an 80% chance to win, regardless if they beat the Seahawks that final week of the year. Just the way the tiebreakers have worked out. And the Cardinals are dead. Lost to the Panthers. If they beat the Panthers last week, there's a world where they can actually still make the playoffs. Instead, they're dead. Is there any reason to think that the Rams don't blow out the Cardinals? It's 6.5-point favorite Saturday night.
Oh, the only reason I can think of is that the NFC West has made no sense all season. And
Right.
That is one of those games that the Cardinals they have no reason to even try really, but they probably will go out and win. The Rams, again, the fact they're in the driver's seat is kind of nuts given the way the defense has looked at times and the offense. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to pedigree, and Stafford has that. I use a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I think he'll be able to get him into the playoffs here. Again, it's a must-win game. If you want to be a playoff team, you got to win these kind of games, and I think Stafford's capable of doing it.
Yeah, I was impressed that the Rams held off the Jets last week. Defensively, they were able to win the game defensively. I think it's a good sign. Cardinals defense seems dead. Rams probably rack up a lot of points, and then they're gonna position themselves for the 3 seed. It looks like, because as we go to the South, this is where it gets interesting. The Falcons Bucks, basically it's a 50-50 on, if you look at the odds on which team's going to get into the both teams could actually make the playoffs. So to run through the scenario, the Falcons are at the Commanders this week. Commanders win, they're in. And the Bucks are playing home against the Panthers, and then they get the Saints, or is it I think vice versa actually. But they get the Saints and the Panthers the next 2 weeks at home. I think it's Panthers this week, and then the Saints. So the Bucks got to win out. They need the Falcons to lose one of these games, or they need the Commanders to lose both games. And then the Commanders play at Dallas. So I kind of like the Bucks' chances because they should win these last 2 games. They need either the Falcons to lose or the Commanders lose one of these games. Bucks did not make it easy on themselves by losing to the Cowboys last week. So this Atlanta-Washington game is the most consequential game. That's why I got moved to Sunday Night Football. It's in Washington. Is Washington's luck going to run out? Feels like they've won 3-4 games this year that they shouldn't have won, including last week against Philly. For some reason, I feel like Atlanta's going to win this game.
No, I really want Atlanta to win this game personally. It'd be really nice to see him win it. Michael Penix looked really, really solid against the Giants, but again, it was the Giants. He didn't really have to do too much. Bijan was running really well. That being said, the Commanders have struggled to stop the run a lot this year. Their defense looked a little lost at times stopping that. I think if Atlanta goes with a smaller playbook, a lot of runs, a lot of short passes, and then open it up later in the game, I think it gets really open for them. That being said, on the other side, Commanders with Terry McLaurin, with Noah Brown, Diami Brown, have a lot of deep threats, a lot of really good receiving options down there. I think that they can throw it over Atlanta a lot. I think we're looking at what's probably going to be like a 35-30 kind of game. It does feel like a shootout situation.
Got it. And do you think who's Phoenix featuring? Does the ball go more to Pitts? Does it go to London? Is it checkdowns? What was your feel against the Giants? And then how do you see it going forward for him?
Yeah, the great thing about Penix is he just loves throwing it. He rips it deep a lot. So we saw a ton of Drake London last time out. Didn't see as much Darnell Mooney and saw a good bit of Ray McLeod. But that being said, with Darnell Mooney being such a dangerous deep threat, he could switch it up and go to the other side if he wants to, a lot like he did at Washington when he had Jalen Polk and Rome Odunze. He can kind of go both sides if he wants to.
Should be a good one. That's the most consequential game. The Packers-Vikings also has a lot of meaning. The Vikings went out, and they're going to get the 1 seed because they get the Lions the last week of the season. Got to beat the Packers first. How do you see this? Packers are probably the hottest team right now, just playing the best. We got to see them a few weeks now in a row. Beat the Dolphins on Thanksgiving, dominated the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football, dominated the Saints on Monday night. I don't know how to handicap this game against the Vikings. What do you think?
Yeah.
Minnesota.
No, the normal thing with the Packers is to always point out home versus away, because a lot of the time you can look at their home numbers and see that they're a lot better. This year, it really hasn't been the case. They've kind of been good everywhere. They've been winning with different quarterbacks, different settings and stuff like that. But that being said, the Vikings, if there's a team that's the definition of just finding a way to win, it is the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, they have had games where Darnold has looked like 2018 Darnold, and they've still found a way to win it. And the fact that it's at home, they're coming off Green Bay's coming off, I think, a good stretch of games at home for themselves. They have to go on the road to Minnesota. I think the Vikings have a really good chance here.
So it's probably the best era, if you will, for lack of a better word, for receivers, like the past 10 years or so, just because athletes are extremely dynamic. And you see it at the receiver position almost more than any other position. It's just like freak athletes here. How they catch the ball, I have no idea. And you see it almost even in college, it happens all the time. But Justin Jefferson, to be so much better than whoever 2 through 20 is in the world at being a receiver, because that's how it feels. He is like dominating after rooting so hard for the Seahawks last week, just like constantly yelling at my TV, like, why is he open? And then when they show the replay, I don't know if he is open. Like, I don't know. He is so good.
He's going to win me my fantasy league. Like, it's like for anyone that is like a Jamar Chase person in this argument, no. Jamar gets single coverage every time, I'm pretty sure. They haven't started doubling Jamar yet. Jefferson gets like 2 or 3 guys every game. Some defenses will script entirely around him, which is why you see Jordan Addison getting open as so much. They're basically leaving a receiver open almost every snap. That's how much of a game breaker Justin Jefferson is.
That's why I favor the Vikings. I think the Vikings, I think that the Lions, you need a really elite pass rush to stop the Vikings, because you got to get Darnold off his spot. And they have Aaron Jones. I really think the Vikings are going to come out of the NFC. If they can get that 1 seed, which I think is very possible here, I like them. If they have to get the 5 seed, I see them at least ending up in that AFC Championship game. I think the Vikings would be really, really tough out. Lions that would be the last game I get you with, and then we'll transition to basketball for a second. But Lions are favored at San Francisco. It's only 3.5. Niners are dead. What's your read here on the Lions? Do you think they just roll the Niners? It feels like that's Monday Night Football, but just kind of a weird spread considering the Niners are finished.
No, I think they should kill them. This feels like one of those games they should be up by 21 at the half. They've done it a lot this year. Again, the offense still moved really solid without David Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs shows that he's capable of being an every down back, and he was really good in that role. Lions should win it. I don't think the 49ers have enough on offense to exploit the Lions on defense. So, yeah. I
would say, if you want to bet the Lions, bet that as soon as possible, just because it feels like that number should go up. All right, a little NBA. Of course, I'm going to lose with stupid Jokic last night. Isn't it just ridiculous? Another reminder why I'm not betting the NBA is the Nuggets somehow score 100 points. I'm only whatever. It just is what it is. We were texting about it last night. And it's like, yeah, Jokic is hit or miss. I get it. I look at the volatility of his numbers, and I'm just like, well, tonight will be the night. It wasn't. Few other things about the NBA, just because I wanted to get your take on it. I watched a little bit of the Spurs yesterday with Wembanyama. That was so much fun in one respect because he's like ridiculous, but I'm so frustrated watching so many possessions where he just is launching 20-footers. He'll make a couple threes where it's like, I guess that's got to be part of his resume, but just a read on him where you see his projection, and I was just like frustrated watching because it felt like they should have him in the low post, but I don't know if I'm just stuck in my ways. But thoughts on him?
No, I was talking with some of my friends about Wemby and like what he needs to take himself to basically the GOAT of basketball, because the defensive tools are there. And it's weird. He's 7'4", and he's got the mid range down. He's got the 3-point down. The one hole in his offensive game is the low post. He's a 7'4" guy that can't score in the paint. I don't think he's strong enough yet. But again, like when you're talking about this guy, his weakest part of his game is the thing that should be the most naturally easy for him. It's an off-season adjustment. It's like just add 20 pounds in an off-season and learn some better post moves. Go to like Hakeem Olajuwon or something and ask for some help, and like he will legitimately be a 3-level scorer and one of the best defenders ever. Like it's
I
that.
feel like he legitimately could be the best basketball player in the entire I've ever seen. I've never seen some of these plays that he's made. He's so athletic, but then he just nothing's easy for him. Like the only things that are easy would be like a couple offensive rebounds. Or if he gets something in transition, but he should have 12 to 14 points just by being able to catch the ball in the low post. So that was one thing. The Sixers Celtics was an interesting game. It was an exciting game. But to me, it loses all like, oh, I have to watch this, because just in the back of my mind and like the takeaway after the game is, well, this would be great if you guys always played and like, everyone was healthy and actually tried their hardest. But because that doesn't happen, it's almost like, I'm just sick of watching it. I don't know if you watch it at all. Thoughts on the Sixers winning at Boston?
No, yeah, I wasn't watching live, but I was keeping up with the stats and stuff. And my favorite part about that game is he had one of the most Jaylen Brown games you can have. He's absolutely horrible for most of the game, and then does enough by the end to make the numbers at least look decent. He does this like basically it's like once a week at this point with the guy. Like he's such one of the weirder stars in the NBA. But then on the other side, Tyrese Maxey's ridiculous. Like when Tyrese Maxey has a good game, he's basically impossible to stop. And then like we're reaching a weird point where like Joel Embiid won an MVP 2 years ago, but it does feel like it's kind of Maxey's team. It feels like they're a better team with him out there than they would be if it was just Joel. So it's an interesting path for the Sixers for sure.
How many threes do you think the Celtics took yesterday?
How many shots did they have? It's probably what 80% of the shots would be threes. It's normally around that. Like they just don't stop shooting them. Yeah.
49 threes for them, 40 for the Sixers.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't watch any of that. I did watch LeBron and Steph. I wanted to watch that. LeBron is, I guess he's still the best player if you're just playing one game. I don't know how it works in the back-to-back or once we get to the playoffs. I'm sure he will run out of some energy. But if you were just playing one game to like 25 in the backyard or just one game, I still think he's the best player in the world. It was amazing to watch him last night. And then Curry is just ridiculous. Also, yeah, I mean, I could carry on about it, but it was pretty wild to watch. Lakers do win at the buzzer. But yeah, Steph and LeBron, I don't know how many more years we have of it left. It was funny after the game, like LeBron tries to, was trying to say that like Christmas is still the NBA, and it's like, not really. Like this is like no one really cares about the NBA anymore. It's just how I feel about it. I had one, but I was like just watching, just different. I don't know. It just feels like really different. I was talking about it the other day, but just the NBA, something has got to change, because if they're losing people like me, there's no way they haven't lost the majority of people.
No, I mean, yeah, because at the end of the day, these games just don't matter. It's like You can watch the game and like even the teams kind of know it. It's this weird mindset in the NBA that like you're playing 82 games. You can make the playoffs by winning 40 of them. So with that logic, you can kind of coast through half the season and then start locking in by the near the end. And if you're coasting at the beginning and you're 30-10, you kind of don't need to try it at the end either. It's a weird spot.
Yeah, and you just don't have the sense of urgency because you can watch all the highlights and stay up to date. I think that's the thing that hurts the NBA more than anything is I can watch 10 minutes the next day and get my fix. I don't really have to watch the game. So I did watch a lot of the fourth quarter with LeBron and Curry. That was fun. But yeah, what's the consequences of it? The sense of urgency. So it's an interesting development. And college basketball ran into the same problem, I guess, 10, 15 years ago at this point where the regular season just doesn't matter. You wait for the tournament. So just is what it is. But what else? We got Seahawks Bears tonight. I didn't check the bowl schedule. I'm waiting for your next bowl game since you've been right so far. We'll take whatever bowl games you got. I think there's a bunch of them today. Yeah, Pittsburgh, Toledo. We got 3 of them. So not the most marquee games on the board, but 3 bowl games. So if you end up having any picks for that, you'll send them out. Seahawks Bears props. We'll have that out. Finally went 4-0 in football yesterday. Just gave it most of it back with the Nuggets last night. So
no.
Oh, it is what it is. So, all right. Well, hope everybody has a great day. I know today